Hi there. Thank you so much for visiting today. You are watching The Voice of the Local Business. My name is Tim Gowans. I'm the host. And today it's a privilege to have Mr. Larry Grawey with us today. Larry, say hello to your clients.
Well, hello. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Tim, for doing this, and I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, we're excited to have you today. Thank you so much for coming in. We're excited to learn about Dream Vacations, your company, but more importantly, what we're most excited about is to learn about some of the reasons why you started your business. A lot of the folks that are watching are people maybe that are thinking about starting a company. There may be some fear and trepidation about starting a company. I know Dream Vacations is a relatively new adventure for you, so we're excited to hear about that. So let me start off today by asking you the question. Tell us about Dream Vacations and what you do, but more importantly, tell us about why you're doing it.
Okay, so Dream Vacations, we're actually a franchise. So you may have heard of Dream Vacations before. We're one of 2,000 franchises. And it is something we got into just over a year ago. My wife and I, our actual LLC is Larry and Jennifer Grawey and Associates. And then we do business as Dream Vacations. So that's how, that's who we are. We got into this because over the years, we love travel. We've taken, many trips. We believe in building experiences, not so much stuff. We did that with our kids. We traveled with our kids. We wanted to get out with them. And then every time we traveled, we brought people with us. And then our friends would call us and say, hey, we're thinking about taking this trip. What do you recommend? What do you do? And so over the years, we were looking for something that as we got older, that we could do as a business together. And really, this is our retirement plan. You put that out there, but we absolutely love to help people have amazing experiences. We really just want to help people move along and make their lives, a little bit better.
That's great. That's really great. So the whole thing started when you were just taking friends and acquaintances with you on vacations and to help them have a good experience. What a wonderful, unselfish thing to do. So you're a pastor as well, correct?
Yes.
So I'm assuming that a lot of the folks that you've maybe taken on vacations with you maybe were associated with you from your ministry side, friends from your ministry side?
Some were family, some were from our church, friends. Okay. It's varied.
It's varied.
It really has.
That's wonderful. So tell us, Larry, where are you from? Where did you grow up? And tell us about that.
I grew up in Flint, Michigan.
Flint, Michigan.
Well, the north side of Flint, a little town called Grawey, Michigan. So if you're familiar with the metro Atlanta area, basically, I lived as far north of Flint as Marietta is to Atlanta.
Okay.
And I live as far off I-75 now as I did growing up.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah, Flint, Michigan. That's where I grew up.
Do they have a lot of snow up there?
A little bit.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of snow. Yeah. Not as much as you would think.
Not as much as us being in Georgia, snow to us is incredible. We love snow. But I've always wondered about living up in the northern states and what the snow would be like. I guess I've also heard people say they get really tired of it real fast. Is that true?
Yes and no. So where I lived, you averaged maybe a foot a year.
That's a lot. That's
a
lot.
That's not a lot. If you're talking about the western side of the state, along Lake Michigan, they would get 3 or 4 feet every year. You get the lake effect, over that way. Mm-hmm. Where we were at, you'd get 6 inches to maybe a foot. Yeah. But what was different is you have a longer season of cold.
Yes, that's right. It's warm. It's the opposite down here in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
So here's some questions for you I'd like to ask you about Dream Vacations. What's the most important thing that you want your customer to know? And about you, it can be about you or about your company. What's the most important thing?
I think probably the biggest thing, and it's going to dispel probably the biggest myth, is it doesn't cost more money to use a travel agent.
Interesting. That has been something I've always thought about,
Technically, our franchise would like us to charge $20 just for every booking, but 9 times out of 10, I don't.
Yeah.
Because really, we get paid kind of like an insurance agent. We work with a bunch of different suppliers. Mm-hmm. And we get paid commission on that backside.
Okay.
So the probably the most important thing is that using us rather than just booking it yourself is that when you need to when you have an issue or you have a question, it's one phone call to somebody you have a relationship with that can
Yes.
deal with that.
I think you just said the key word, relationship.
Yeah.
We've traveled before in the past, and we had some issues when we were on a trip, and we didn't have much of a relationship with the person that booked everything for us to Italy, and we had some trouble.
Yeah.
We had some trouble over there. We had to figure out some things on our own. So if we'd had somebody that had been on the trips, had understood it may have been a lot easier, a more pleasant experience. So I agree with you.
Well, can I share a story?
Yes,
That just
absolutely.
happened
Please.
this past week. So I have a client that was going to Cabo for a wedding.
Right.
It was going to be at a wedding, and they got to the airport and something was wrong with their Delta flight. They had set up their flights. They had to deal with Delta. They set up their flights, and Delta messed up their flight, and they missed it.
Oh, wow.
So I was actually playing in the Kennesaw Business Association golf tournament when I got a text that said, "Hey, we missed our flight. What do we do?" I was able to contact the resort they're staying at, the transportation at the airport, get everything moved for them without any hassle, and all it was a text message
Wow. While you're playing golf.
while I'm playing golf. So you that's kind of the deal. It's more of, hey, we're having this issue. Even since they've been there, they've never been to an all-inclusive resort, had questions about a couple things, couple emails. Hey, is this what we should be doing? Absolutely, this is what you should do.
Yeah, that's great. That's very valuable to have a relationship with someone that knows what you should be doing in a certain situation. That's really great. That's wonderful. So let me ask you this question. What's the biggest obstacle that you faced in the early stages of starting your company? And how did you overcome it, or how are you currently overcoming it? Because the reason why I ask is because everyone who starts a company is going to face an obstacle, right?
Yeah.
Of some type.
Yeah.
So share some of your wisdom with us.
Biggest obstacle, I think, probably for me, because we're starting this off and you still have to make money, you still have to, unless you have the money. It's nice if you have a good amount of money to come in and do it. We didn't have that. You mentioned we're a pastor, we still pastor a church. Balancing time.
Yes.
And then I think the second one is getting our name out there and getting in front of people. So the way that works for us, the way we're overcoming it, is I spend a lot of time at different networking events.
That's my next question.
Yeah.
How do you get your clients? And as a matter of fact, that's how you and I met. Was at a networking event, right?
Yeah. So I got involved in our local business association, but also neighboring business association, Marietta Business Association. I'm at networking events every week. I'm also in a BNI, that helps me with that. So most of our bookings have come through relationship, through networking, or through word of mouth. That's kind of how we've gotten out there.
Yeah, podcast, which is what we're doing now. Podcast, in my opinion, is the way Yellow Pages used to work back in the day. Back in the day, we would put ads in Yellow Pages, and that's how people found you.
Yes.
But podcasts are also, I think, a very important tool for the customer to listen to the owner. Maybe before they book a trip with you, they want to know, hey, do I like this guy? I mean, does he seem trustworthy? Is this guy worthy of me investing my hard-earned dollars that I've saved so long for this vacation? Is he worthy of that? So I think that's why podcasts are a big, but it all boils down to one thing: relationship.
Absolutely.
Relationships and trust, of course.
Yeah.
So I think that doing what you're doing and the way you've done it, I've observed you at these events. For those of you who are wanting to start a company, you have got to get out to the community. You've got to get to know people. You can't be sitting at a Have you ever been to these networking events and you see people sitting by themselves in a corner?
Yeah.
Those people typically aren't. I mean, they're terrified to be there, and those people are going to struggle more so than people who are step out there, put their hand out there, say, "Hey, my name's Larry. What's your name?" That's how we met. Yeah, it works.
Can I give you the biggest key of that? So if you're new into a business, and maybe, I'm naturally connect with people.
Yeah.
That's something I do
Being
every
a
day.
pastor, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So I naturally connect with
Right.
people, but I'll tell you, walking into the business world, wearing a different hat, I don't tell people I'm a pastor in
Right.
that world
Right.
necessarily. Now, if they ask, that's not a big deal.
Sure. Right.
But walking into that world is intimidating. What I did is I went to somebody that was in our local business association, Brent Rittersdorf. I went to him and said, hey, can you give me some insight? And basically, unofficially ask him to mentor me through that process.
Right.
So Brent used to lead the morning networking group for the KBA. He's handed that off to me this year. So I intentionally went to people that had influence and asked them if I could have a little bit of their time to learn.
Yeah.
And that's where I got my connections.
Yeah, it is also, I think I'm summing up a lot of what you're saying, because I've done business a lot of years myself. It's in who you know.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it is a lot of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got so many stories where someone that I knew helped me overcome a very hard obstacle, and without that person's knowledge of who I was and relationship with them, I'd still be struggling with those things. So that's how you get to know. It's kind of, those are the two legs I think that every successful business stands on, is relationships, and it's the people that you know, and it's being able to get out and meet people, right?
Can I give you another one?
Please.
So the third one that I think we don't talk about a lot is, I strive when I meet somebody that's in a business or a new business, I strive to lift them up, to connect them with other people.
Wow, what a good point.
If I focus on, I have a friend that's a chiropractor, new business. What do? I invite him along with me, and I introduce him to other people that have businesses.
Wow, that's great.
And help him to connect. You know what that does? That connects me with the person I'm connecting him to.
Right.
And they're saying, hey, that person really cares. And the person that I'm helping, they're going to be loyal friend to me when there's those things
That's
that
right.
come up. And I don't do it for ulterior motives. I strive to help anybody succeed. But
I've heard if you help other people succeed, you'll succeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can't be so self-focused on just what you want, that you forget to be lending a helping hand and using your talents and abilities and gifts to help people do better. And that's kind of why we do this podcast, is I want to help the local business succeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very, very passionate about that. In closing here, let me ask you a few more questions.
Sure.
Can you share a specific instance where taking a calculated risk paid off for your business? Because a big part of business is what?
Risk.
Taking a risk, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking a risk.
I think everything I've done's been calculated risks, because we've started everything we've ever done. But I think probably the biggest risk, so if you're not familiar with the term BNI, Business Networking International, I avoided those because they're kind of expensive.
How much are they about?
For your first year, you're going to spend $800-900.
Okay.
And then quarterly fees, so you're going to be over $1,000 to be in a closed networking group. And I had shied away from, because we didn't have a lot of money we didn't have being very intentional about what we've invested in. And so the opportunity to get into the BNI, you wonder, okay, in travel, when we book something, and this is something people don't understand, I have no problem sharing it, we don't see the money from those bookings. If it's a cruise, we see it when the cruise is paid off. But if it's a resort or hotel, we don't see it until months after they travel. So we're selling things today that we're getting paid for down the road.
Yeah.
So you have to have that long runway. And so to go in a BNI, we're not going to see that. Even if we book a bunch of things, we're not going to see that money come back till later. That's been a big risk. Is it going to bring in enough for us to be able to pay for it? And it's working out pretty well. We're fairly new into it, and I'm getting 2 to 3 referrals a week for business. And one of those, if it's a big enough trip, could actually pay for that entire year's.
For the entire year. Right.
And so that was probably a risk that we took that we really didn't have the budget for, but it worked out that we could.
Yeah.
And we risked it, and it's turning out okay.
One last couple of questions that come to my mind. Motivation. a lot of people who start their own company lose motivation, especially in the earlier stages of a business, when the money isn't flowing in and there's not necessarily a pile of people knocking at your door. How do you stay motivated? What keeps you going?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing that keeps me going is I think long term.
Yes.
I'm a long-term thinker. I know that what I'm doing today is going to pay off. Maybe not tomorrow, but it may pay off the week after, the week after that. And so I don't give up quickly on those things. I am a marathon runner in that sense.
Yeah.
And so what keeps me going in that is, one, if you invest everything you have, you got to make it. But two,
That's right.
really, it's that passion to know that what we do, we love, and we have a long-term plan. My wife and I, this is our retirement plan. We plan on doing this into retirement.
Right.
We love to help people.
Right.
And so we look at this and go, okay, what we're building now, 10, 15 years from now, is what's going to help us with our future.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And last question before we give advice. I like to ask this question for my entrepreneurs, people. What advice would you give someone who's passionate about starting their own business but feels overwhelmed by the process? Because it is somewhat overwhelming, when you look at all the different licensing fees, for the city or the county you live in, all the different things that go into getting a tax ID number, and just all the things that are can be a little scary to someone who's never done it before. What advice would you give them?
I would say this: go to a local business association or something like that and seek out some people or friends that you already have, and sit down with people that are already doing what you want to do or have blazed a trail similar to what you want to do.
That's right.
And sit down and talk with them, find out what their hurdles were, learn from their experience, buy them dinner, whatever you need to do to learn as much as you can from somebody else that can help you through that process.
Very, very good advice. Mentors are very, very much of a big part. I've had several mentors in my life in the business, the years that I've done this. And, why try to reinvent the wheel when there's somebody there that might help you not have to do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Larry, for being with us today. We want to say thank you to our sponsor, Summer Street Productions, which is located in Kennesaw, Georgia. That's where we're actually at today recording the podcast. And then, of course, Metro Wheels and Accessories, located in Marietta, Georgia. They are our primary sponsor, and we hope that you'll watch the preceding video regarding Metro Wheels and give them a call if they can help you. Thank you so much for our sponsors, and thank you again, Larry, for being with us today.
Thank you, Tim.
It's a
Man, this is great.
pleasure been meeting you and getting to know you, and look forward to seeing you succeed.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.